Welcome to Empowered with Elizabeth Namofsky. Women are jugglers. We juggle careers, schedules, both personal and professional. We juggle our home life with families and our children. And today I'm speaking with Barbara Gray, who is a chartered financial analyst and is the owner and founder of Brady Capital Research Inc. Barbara went from having a corporate job to becoming an entrepreneur. And like many women during COVID, she homeschooled her two boys. And within 6 years, she has actually published 10 books. And now that is a lot of juggling. She also has some really interesting ways of looking at the world, and we will discuss with her today. So let's begin. Barbara, welcome to Empowered. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, thanks, Elizabeth. Happy to join you.
So, speaking about juggling, you were in Vancouver and then you were in Montreal and now you're in Toronto in a hotel room to be on the show. So a lot of juggling and really difficult to get here on time today too. So I really thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I wanted to talk to you about leaving a paid job. What made you, how did you decide to leave the corporate world back in 2010 and go out on your own and launch Brady Capital Research? What were the steps that made you do this?
Yeah. Well, the big thing was I decided to leave the corporate world in 2010. So I quit my job in February 2010. And with my then boyfriend, we threw everything into storage. He just moved in with me 6 months earlier. We got in my convertible and we set off for a 2.5-month road trip around the United States, which was awesome. And it's interesting because this was still during the recession. And then when I got back, I found out that I was pregnant with my son, who I called Brady. And so it was really, I struggled then when I was pregnant. I'm like, do I go back to doing a sell-side equity job, which is pretty brutal. I mean, when I worked in New York, from 2000 to 2002, the hours were 80 hours a week. It was pretty much boot camp. When I worked on Bay Street, I covered income trusts. And when I did that, I was working maybe 60, 70 hours a week, but I was working out of Vancouver. And in Vancouver, the markets were 3 hours behind the market. So I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning, be in the office at 4 o'clock. So I really had no life. So anyways, back to the road trip, it was really fun. And then I decided, I'm like, you know what? I want to try to do my own thing. And sort of the catalyst for me was my husband told me about this conference in Austin, Texas called South by Southwest. It was on in March. So we drove there and it was fascinating because I was used to the corporate world of suits, of Blackberries at the time. And I entered Austin. And then at that point, there were no financial people at the conference. It was mostly techie people. Everyone was wearing jeans, t-shirts. They had iPhones. It was weird. It was this new world that I really hadn't done it. And it was at that time that I found out about this sort of new exposing disruptive force called social media. Twitter was there, LinkedIn, Facebook. That was the early stage. And that gave me an idea for an investment thesis. And that's sort of what I used then to write a research report all throughout when I was pregnant in 2010. And then I published it independently at the end of 2010, talking about my new thesis. And it was supposed to be published in the new year, talking about juggling. And then my son came a month early. So I ended up publishing it before right after, soon after he was born.
So you had a lot of, some people would think, negative forces, and you actually took them all and put them in a mixing bowl and created something pretty incredible for yourself, where a lot of people wouldn't have wanted to do that and would have thought, oh, poor me, I'm going through that. I lost my job. I did this, I did that. But you took it and you ran with it. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I didn't lose my job. I quit my job.
Okay.
Usually I lose my job and I get a beautiful severance package. This time I actually quit my job and went off on my own.
So you are working in a male-dominated industry and, writing those research reports. There are so many of them out there. We have about 30 seconds before we go to break. How do you set yourself apart of all the other research reports out there? Like, what makes you special?
Yeah. So when I started Brady Capital Research, my focus was basically to do qualitative focus research. So not looking at the numbers so much. And I've really, the last 6 years, I've been focusing mainly on the tech stocks. And so what makes me different is that I was looking, most analysts look in the rearview mirror and they look in silos. I look at what's going forwards